We have on set right now, Mayor Noam Branson. We're about to
Bramson.
Bramson.
With an M.
Oh. No, I said Bramson. Or did
You
I
got
say
it.
Branson?
You got it right. No, I think you got it right.
Yeah, I think I got it right. But we're going into our second segment right now. If you missed it on the last segment, we talked a little bit about some of the recent developments going on in New Rochelle, mostly on the Iona side, especially on the retail portion of the dormitories. And we're just dive into our second segment. I think Bill's got a few more questions. So
we were talking about you being a city councilman and serving with Professor Alex Yodes of Iona College in the philosophy department. But could you talk about how the transition from the legislative branch to being the executive might have an impact on you? Also, we see that with Barack Obama, how he jumped from the Senate in Illinois and the United States at large, and how that might influence his whole thinking. And I actually prefer senators because I feel that they're more people-oriented and that they're actually more philosophical and deep.
So I'll answer the question as well as I can, but I should just point out something first. And most people don't realize this, but under the city charter in New Rochelle, the mayor is actually formally the sort of chief legislator.
Okay.
More like the Speaker of the House than the president, because we have a city manager who is the day-to-day administrator of city services. Now, as a practical matter, and this is not true just for me, but for mayors for the last 30 or 40 years, there ends up being a collaborative relationship between the mayor and the manager, and we consult on many things. I tend to be more assertive on policy issues, more deferential on personnel issues, but in any case, it still is a transition from the council to the mayor's office. And on one level, you go from representing a district to representing the whole city. And so you are exposed more fully to the...
What district were you to start off?
I was District 5, which actually included the Iona campus.
And that's where Jared is right now.
Actually, Jared is District 3. And District 5 is sort of Iona going north. Includes, Beachmont and Forest Heights and Payne Heights and Bayberry, Larchmont Woods. District 3 is more sort of the center city. So Halcyon Park, going south along North Avenue to the Historic District, and then on the west side of North Avenue along the Lincoln Avenue corridor.
Yeah.
So in any case, when you go from representing one district to representing the whole city, you I think, cannot help but acquire a greater appreciation for the individual perspectives in different neighborhoods, a better appreciation for the full diversity of the city, and you feel perhaps a sense of responsibility to forge a sense of common purpose and to make sure that everybody feels included. In terms of council meetings, when you chair the meeting, as the mayor must do, you have to be sort of on top of every issue. When you're a council member, you can kind of zone out of the things you're not interested in and focus on the things that you are interested in. So that's different too.
So it's basically like any essay: show where you're strong and hide where you're weak.
I guess that's right.
As a legislator,
and that's just natural. It's not. Yeah. I'm not saying that in any way to be pejorative. I think it's just
but there's just a greater demand as an executive.
Yes, and when you're in the mayor's office too, people will approach you in a somewhat different way. Whether you're dealing with other levels of government, or you're dealing with developers, or you are dealing with the press, there's an enhanced responsibility to speak for the whole community. And so it's very important to do so with a sense of professionalism and diplomacy and respect, and to the extent that you're able to muster it, eloquence, which sometimes I hit the mark and sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
But so the job certainly feels very, very different. It's more demanding, but I love it. I feel very lucky to be doing what I'm doing. Having grown up in New Rochelle, it's really neat to be involved in the government of one's hometown, especially at a time when there are good and meaningful things to be accomplished.
Now, what exactly does that mean to you to be able to go serve the people in New Rochelle, where you were, I guess, a baby in, and now you're their leader? And when you look at the issues of New Rochelle facing 2015 and beyond, what are the important issues facing them, and how are you going to be able to go work with county government, state government, and the federal government to go attack those?
Well, so we already talked about one of the big challenges, and that's economic development. I think another big challenge is environmental sustainability, and that's true of communities all across the country. It's true, I think, worldwide. It's how do we use resources today in a way that doesn't compromise the interest of future generations, and that's an interesting and very important challenge. I think it's a strategic budgeting. so that we can better align our resource allocation with the values and priorities of the community, not simply operate on autopilot and assume that the spending patterns of yesterday are the ones that make sense tomorrow. So those are sort of big categories. And then separate and apart from that, but just as important, is something I referenced a moment ago, and that is respecting the diversity of the city. By every metric, demographic, socioeconomics, faith, housing stock, and trying to ensure that there's a give and take among different parts of New Rochelle that helps everyone feel sort of included and valued. So those are the kinds of, I think, big picture challenges that we face in New Rochelle. And then when you drill down to the specific level, it's a dozen different things every day to try to make good on those goals.
Well, thank you, Pat. Do you have any questions?
Nothing that really come to mind, but I mean, I just kind of more interested in, well, I do most of my time work. I mean, I volunteer with the American Legion down in Colorado, down in Pueblo, Colorado. And I got really well with, I got to know one of the mayors that worked around the area. And he kind of explained to me some of his relationship with the community and what he does out there. But I'm more interested to hear from out on the East Coast more so. Yeah. What is your relationship necessarily with, I mean, the entire state of New York as a whole? Just kind of how do you operate, I guess, essentially with on a state level, and just kind of tag teaming along with Bill saying, I mean, like, I know you have some social responsibilities around here, but I mean, are there any other more responsibilities that you have outside of your district? I mean, outside the city?
So state policy has an enormous impact on municipalities in New York. The state really defines our authority, determines revenue streams, governs what grants we are eligible for and which ones we ultimately obtain. So we've got a lot of fish to fry with Albany. And we approach that on a few levels. First, we work through our own state delegation. So New Rochelle has 2 assembly people and 2 senators who represent portions of the community. Fortunately, we've got a good relationship with them. And when there are priorities that are relevant to the legislature, we sit down with them and we try to accomplish them. Sometimes we deal at an administrative or staff level with the regional office that the governor maintains, with the regional office of the Economic Development Council. And that can be critical. We have a lobbyist that we retain in order to assist us with the ins and outs of the Albany process, whether administrative or legislative. When absolutely necessary, I will make a call to the governor's office and say that something is critically important. That's not a card you want to play too often because eventually I think you lose your credibility. But you want to hold it for instances where there's something of vital importance. And finally, we belong to umbrella organizations such as the New York State Conference of Mayors that works as an advocate for the interests that unite all municipalities in New York. And very often it's by partnering like that we can have the greatest impact on state policy. So sometimes we succeed, sometimes we don't. Yeah. Municipalities and the state can have different perspectives on various issues. But for the most part, I feel as though the working relationship is a good one.
Well, thank you, Noam. I know you have to go somewhere else and everything, so we won't hold you. So thank you.
Well, thanks.
We hope to have you on maybe in the future.
Thanks for having me on. It really is a pleasure, and I wish you best of luck.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Guess we can go say go Gales.
Go Gales.
Go Gales.